But being around Khalil, just his presence, made my heart feel whole again, made me come alive in love in a way I never knew I could, made the hurt not hurt, if only for a little while. I got lost in my thoughts as cool air spilled in through the window and the freeway stretched out in front of me. That's when the reality of my marriage settled back in, heavy and unavoidable, as my ring caught the moonlight and sparkled on my hand. I loosened my grip on the steering wheel, slipped the ring off, and held it for a moment longer than I should have. Then I rolled the window down and tossed it out into the night, along with the last small piece of love I still had for Jay. He would never have my heart again. Dream? I said as I stood in front of my sister, waving my hands, trying to pull her out of attack mode. The look on her face and the sound of her voice snapped me straight back to the day she confronted our daddy. It felt like I was staring at two versions of her at once. The grown woman standing in front of me now, and the tiny 10-year-old girl she used to be. The one who learned too early how to protect innocence with violence if she had to. The one who would kill anyone who dared threaten her sister again. Her breathing was jagged. She was sweating slightly, her forehead shimmering under the roof lighting. I grabbed her hand and sat her down, trying to reassure her that I was fine, that even though he had hurt me, I was okay. My sister still had nightmares about what Daddy did to us. She told me every now and then. I think not hearing from me mixed with those dreams had sent her spiraling. So now it was my turn to save her, the way she had saved me so many times before. Dream, have you been having nightmares again? I asked softly as I sat her down, patting her head with the rag I kept in my pocket. Her eyes filled with tears as she stared off into the distance, but she didn't speak. He's not in our lives anymore, Dream, I whispered, careful not to let Jay hear me. He died years ago. We're safe now. Are we? She asked, tears finally spilling over. I'm numb most of the time. I can't feel anything but sadness and hate. You were in an abusive relationship for years, and now my nieces and nephews are stuck with a father worse than the one we had. No, I said quickly. We would never let that happen to them. Has it already? She shot back. Was what they saw any better? I dropped my head to hide the tears. She was right. I carried so much shame about what I let my kids witness. But back then, I didn't know any better. These past few days, my mind has been going crazy, she continued. Ever since you told me how he violated you, I can't stop worrying. I feel guilty for making you go back. I want you and the kids to live with me. I won't sleep until I know you're safe. He won't let that happen, Dream, I said quietly as I stood up from the couch. And you know it. Who cares what he lets happen? She snapped. You're not safe here, sis. I couldn't argue with her. She was right. But I still couldn't leave. If I tried, he'd come for my kids. He'd come for me, and I'd never know peace. At least here, there would be days of quiet. Come live with me, she pleaded, grabbing my hand as her tears fell faster. Now, why would she do something like that? Jay's voice slid into the room as he walked in from the bedroom, calm, hands resting easily at his sides. Dream turned slowly, her eyes burning through him with pure fury. Their eyes locked as they simmered in a silent standoff. First, you hold a gun to my chest, he said evenly. Now you're telling my wife to take my kids and live with you? I'm starting to think you're obsessed with my wife. Your wife is my sister, Dream shot back, stepping closer, the tension rising fast. And it's my job to protect her from people like you. Didn't you leave her to be taken advantage of? He said calmly, his voice laced with venom. Just so you could hoe in another city? Dream froze, just for a second, recalculating. Jay never dropped his mask in front of her. He always played the good man, the caring husband. But in that moment, she saw it, heard it, the quiet, scorching evil beneath his calm. Tell him what you want for your birthday this year, Titi, she said without breaking eye contact with him. I looked at her, unsure of the plan she was cooking, but very aware that there was one. She wants to go to a sex club, Dream said, taking my hand. She was scared to tell you, and now I see why. That's why you want my wife to come live with you? He asked, unconvinced, but curious where she was headed. Well, my sister has been in a relationship with you since she was a teen, Jay, Dream said smoothly. She wants to experiment. And I mean, you know the lure of variety. You've been sleeping around for years, haven't you? Jay flashed a sly grin but said nothing. He brushed the embarrassment off with a swipe of his nose, hand slipping into his pocket. She should be able to experience something new, Dream continued, feigning concern. Otherwise she'll stray and eventually leave you for good, and we both know you don't want that. Something shifted in his face. The reality of what she was saying settled in, even as the sting of her words lingered. He knew she was right. Hell, I had already been experimenting. He just didn't know it. Just one man, Dream said, stepping even closer. One time. That's not going to hurt a confident, strong man like you, is it? Jay's jaw clenched. And if she could handle all that pain behind her back, Dream continued, her voice shaking with rage, you can handle her smashing one man in your face. Dream, you wildin', he muttered, but his voice didn't have the same confidence it usually did. You felt her slipping away, didn't you? She pressed. What if I told you this is the only way you get her back? For the first time, something cracked in him. He looked at me then, really looked, not as his wife, not as something he owned, but like he was finally seeing the distance between us. Is that what you want? He asked. I had never told Dream that part, but my sister already had a plan, and in that moment I trusted her more than I trusted the man I married. Yes, I said, my voice steady, even though fear crawled up my spine. He looked around the room like he was negotiating with himself. His eyes went thin, his head swaying slightly, like he was having a conversation no one else could hear. Finally, he exhaled. One man, he said, and he gotta be random. No exes, no crushes, no history. Dream turned to me with a wink, flashing that devilish grin, oddly laced with protection this time. This wasn't just about sex. This was about power. And whatever she had planned, I already knew. This was about to be the dirtiest, messiest get back scheme he'd never see coming. In the hallway, she grabbed my arm gently. First, he disrespects my sister. Then, he disrespects me to my face. She said low, okay. He wants to play dirty. We'll play dirty. Dream, what the heck was that back there? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I'm going to help you give Jay a taste of his own damn medicine, she said, opening her car door. One last thing, she whispered. Call Khalil. That man actually likes you. I hesitated. And don't forget the plan, she warned. You stay long enough to get your shit together, not long enough to lose yourself again. She looked me dead in the eye. Don't let him pull you back in. I never told Dream that he threatened to take my kids that day. I was just grateful my sister came to my rescue, like only dream ever could. That night, after Jay fell asleep, I pulled my phone out from under the pillow. My hand shook as I typed. You still want to take me out? The reply came fast. Always. So, we booked a date. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't running. Khalil brought a satisfying essence of calm and intention to the date planning. The time, the restaurant, the vibe. He liked me a lot, and it showed. I wasn't used to that. It wasn't loud, and it wasn't flashy. It was warm, low lights, soft music, the kind of place where conversations lingered instead of competing with the noise. When I walked in, he stood up immediately, smoothing his jacket like he'd rehearsed the moment. He smiled when he saw me, and that made my chest flutter. You look beautiful tonight, he said, his voice a little softer than I expected. Thank you, handsome. I smiled. He laughed quietly, rubbing the back of his neck as he pulled my chair out. I've been thinking about this all day, he admitted. You mean all week, I said with a flirty smile. He had told me every day since last week that he was excited to see me again, so I knew all day was just a front. He smiled and even blushed. Can you blame me? He said, flashing that beautiful smile and giving me that lustful stare I enjoyed so much. Maybe a little too much for a married woman. I smiled and dropped my head, trying to hide the shy, schoolgirl grin spreading across my face. I was flattered, and it showed. I really like talking to you, Charity, and that's hard to come by for me, he said, leaning forward and holding my hand. The way we held eye contact felt like we were holding each other's vulnerability. The feeling is mutual, okay? I said softly. I'm okay now? He asked, leaning back slightly. I hope that's a good thing. It's a really good thing, I replied, leaning closer and tracing his fingers with mine. Flirtatious, but careful. I start using nicknames as a marker in my brain for the people I care about. Hmm, he hummed, something clicking in his expression. So I'm someone you care about, he said as he tilted his hand, inviting me to trace his forearm. I'm starting to, I replied as my finger slipped just beneath the edge of his sleeve. Can you blame me? I teased, mimicking his words from earlier, just to see that boyish smile break across his face again. The eye contact between us deepened, felt heavier as I traced the veins on his forearm. The connection wasn't rushed, just deliberate, like we were learning the language of each other's presence. What are you doing to me? He asked quietly, gesturing toward my hand, toward the space between us that felt charged. I'm introducing you to my softer side, I said, leaning in just a little more. And what did I do to deserve that? He asked, meeting me halfway. Just by being you, I said, simply and truly. The waitress cleared her throat, waiting for us to come back down to earth so she could set our plates on the table. It had gotten so heavy we'd forgotten we even ordered food. Honestly, I wanted to pack it up to go just so we could take this to the next level. But I stayed a lady. We leaned back and let the moment cool as the plates were placed between us. Once the food came, conversation flowed easily. We talked about his kids, my kids, the small things that somehow felt big. He listened when I spoke. He didn't interrupt, and he didn't rush to fill the silence. He let it exist. After dinner, we walked. The city hummed around us, but the night felt private. Our shoulders brushed occasionally, never forced, never accidental, the kind of closeness that didn't demand anything. I don't want you to think I expect anything, he said suddenly, stopping near the water. I know you got a lot going on. I exhaled. Thank you for understanding. He looked at me with something hopeful in his eyes. Hope wrapped in patience. Yeah, I'm not in a rush, he said. We can be friends first, or just talk. I'll go as slow as you want. My throat tightened. I appreciate that, I said, even though part of me wanted to rush, to lean into the warmth of him and let it melt away the damage Jay had done. But I wasn't the type to play with someone's feelings. I don't know where this is going yet, but I promise to be transparent, at least where we are concerned. I appreciate that too, he said gently. When we reached my car, he turned to me with that same intense but genuine look, the kind that made the connection feel real, not imagined. My only intention, he said carefully, is to get to know you. I shook my head, squeezed his hand, and stepped back, creating space to cool the heat. The honesty in his voice scared me more than danger ever had. We stood there for a moment, city lights reflecting off the water, my heart beating louder than the traffic. The feeling is mutual, I said, kissing him on the cheek before getting into my car. I drove home in a haze. I had been out of love for so long, I had forgotten the high it could give you, the excitement, the hope, the calm, the feeling of being somebody again, of being the one who makes someone's heart flutter, the innocent curiosity about how they spend their days and their nights, the quiet comfort of knowing they feel the same way too. I thought I was safe from falling in love, protected by the tangled, shredded mess my heart had become. But being around Khalil, just his presence, made my heart feel whole again, made me come alive in love in a way I never knew I could, made the hurt not hurt, if only for a little while. I got lost in my thoughts as cool air spilled in through the window and the freeway stretched out in front of me. That's when the reality of my marriage settled back in, heavy and unavoidable, as my ring caught the moonlight and sparkled on my hand. I loosened my grip on the steering wheel, slipped the ring off, and held it for a moment longer than I should have. Then I rolled the window down and tossed it out into the night, along with the last small piece of love I still had for Jay. He would never have my heart again. I know you're probably judging me right now. You think Khalil is a rebound, that I should stay with my husband. But a husband is supposed to protect you, love you, make you feel safe and seen. I spent the better part of my life being a wife to a man who never learned how to be a husband. He didn't see the parts of me that mattered. He wanted me, but only on his terms, on his time, and in places no woman should ever exist in a man's mind. And I don't know much about love, but I know it shouldn't hurt this much. It shouldn't make you this afraid. I wanted to be in love, and if I could have that, I was willing to take it at any cost. Dream's name popped up on my phone as I exited the freeway. You got that man sprung, and he ain't even hit yet, she said, giggling like a teenager. You talked to him already? I asked, shocked. We had just left each other. He called me, she said. Couldn't stop talking about you. I leaned back in my seat and bit my lip, thinking about the musky warmth of his cologne, the kindness in his eyes, the sensation of his skin under my finger. I really liked him too. I admitted, my body reacting before my mind could stop it. Y'all are so cute together, Dream said. But I hesitated as I pulled up to my house. The one I shared with the devil. But what? She asked, her tone shifting. I think I like him too much, I said quietly. My sister exhaled, like she already knew where this was headed. I am still married, Dream. We gonna take care of that, she said calmly. Just stick to the plan and give Khalil a chance. That man really likes you. I exhaled to reset the moment as it got heavy with the mention of my marriage. As I let my sister's reassurance settle in. Did you find a sex club you like yet? She asked. No, Dream. Jay didn't mean what he told you. She paused. You ever wonder why he puts on an act every time you try to leave? Just to pull you back in? Because he's evil, I said flatly. Because he knows he'll never find another woman like you, she replied. But you gotta start standing on business. Make him believe he'll lose you if he refuses to meet you where you are. That won't work. Yes, it will, she said. It already has. Trust me. I don't want to sleep with no sex club weirdo, I said, half laughing, half serious. Oh, never that, she replied. That's why I introduced you to Khalil. That's his specialty. Sex clubs? I asked. I didn't take him for that type. At night, he's a male dom, she said casually. Gets paid to boss women around in front of their husband. But you? He's willing to go further with. You already told him? I said, covering my eyes as embarrassment crept up my spine. Khalil's words echoed in my head. The way he'd said, I know you got a lot going on. The way my heart skipped when he said it. She told him everything, and he still wanted to be involved? My thoughts spiraled. The calm, floating feeling from earlier disappeared as my sister kept talking, trying to convince me that bringing the man I was falling for into a sex club to make my husband jealous wouldn't be messy. She called it liberating, but all I could feel was the weight of what I was stepping into. Love on one side, danger on the other, and me standing right in the middle, about to choose anyway. I needed a reset, something to take the edge off. So I went back to the free pad and found a hot guy named Tats. I thought Tay was wildly tatted, but Tats was wickedly tatted. Ink everywhere, like his skin told stories before his mouth ever could. He had the body of a god and the intellect of Steve Jobs, but something about him felt off. We met at a cute little park in the city, had a picnic, talked, walked, listened to music. On paper, it was perfect. In reality, I was forcing myself to stay present, forcing myself to smile, forcing myself to feel something that just wasn't there. So, I did what I hadn't done before. I pushed myself to pretend. I thought maybe if I got to the intimacy, I could escape into it the way I had with the other. I thought I could disappear inside the moment and forget everything else, but I couldn't. For the first time in my life, I had to fake it. And to be fair, it wasn't his fault. He was doing everything right. He was soft, clear, inviting. He made space for me. I just didn't feel the click. And I couldn't even name what was missing. Only that something was. Something important. I told myself it was a fluke. So I went on another date. This time with Chris again. I thought surely it would feel just as exciting, just as reckless as before. But it didn't. We went to a beautiful waterfront lounge, had drinks, then drove to a city overlook and got close, if you know what I mean. But I couldn't feel anything. It wasn't pleasure, it was pressure, motion without sensation. When we were done, we talked, like we always did, about the stars, the moon, astrology. But my mind wasn't there. My body wasn't there. All I could think about was him. And that's when it hit me. That's why I couldn't enjoy another man's company. The feeling of falling for Khalil had fully grown, no longer a spark or a thrill, but a soft, undeniable landing right on top of love. I leaned my head back and muttered, fuck, right in the middle of Chris's sentence, realizing this man had my whole heart in a chokehold. Chris paused, then looked at me like he already knew. Might as well give him a chance, he said quietly. I stared at him, confused, unsure whether to deny it or admit what my body had already accepted, that my heart had made its choice long before I was ready to say it out loud. It's not working anymore, I said, pacing my sister's closet while she got dressed for one of her dates. You're overthinking this, she replied, carefully putting on her lipstick, eyes focused on the lines of her lips. I knew this was a bad idea, I said, planting myself on the tufted bench in the corner. Ugh! I screamed out of frustration, anxiety mixed with a little bit of excitement. Okay, she said, stopping mid-swipe and coming over to calm me down. Y'all both like each other. Why push him away? It's been almost 3 weeks since you talked to him. He thinks he did something wrong, girl. He didn't, I said. I did. Why did I even start this? You asking the wrong questions, she said, grabbing her phone and showing me the text messages and missed calls from Khalil. I felt bad. I really did. But I needed time to sort through my own emotions before I could even think about anyone else's. I pushed the phone away and dropped my head into my lap. Dream stepped closer, placed her hands under my chin, and forced me to look her in the eyes. You can enjoy the messy parts too, TT, she said softly. Everything doesn't have to be neat and clean. This is your life, boo. Do the thing that makes you happy. That hit me harder than she knew, because doing the right thing got me married to the wrong man. So maybe I don't want to be a good girl anymore. I want to be reckless. I want to be messy. I want to feel again. I spent my whole life being the one who sat in the corner, thought through every move, tried to stay on the right side of karma. So how did I end up in the hospital bed while my evil husband smiled at me from the sidelines? Fuck it. I was going all in. Even if it got messy, I'd enjoy the hell out of it. And Khalil made me feel good. As my sister said, I intended to enjoy the messy part, the sweet, warm, intense mess I already knew Khalil and I were capable of making together. Did I say I fell for Khalil? Because it wasn't a fall, it was a dive. One I tried to resist, one I fully welcomed, one I planned for, even while pretending I didn't. I submerged myself in that man's warmth, and he did the same for me. No hesitation, no pretending, just two people choosing to step in deeper than they probably should have. I called him the moment I left my sister's house that day. We met in some random parking lot, nothing special, just asphalt and streetlights, but the conversation felt heavy, important. He told me he wanted to go deeper, but only if I was sure, only if I was ready. And I told him I was. I told him I felt the same way. And just like that, we agreed, without saying it out loud, to enjoy the most romantic and messy 4 months of our lives. It was like the honeymoon without the wedding or the promises. No rules, no pretending, just us. We made love everywhere. His car, my car. Hotels, bathrooms, hiking trails. My house, his house. Anywhere we could steal a moment, we did. The intimacy, the connection, the passion. This man was intoxicating. Every time we made love, it felt like we were writing a hymn with our souls. High peaks, slow melodies, endings that landed somewhere between serenity and divinity. sacred and sinful at the same time. We couldn't get enough of each other. And the deeper I fell into the raw, honest intimacy we shared, the clearer it became. The only man who could ever make my husband jealous was Khalil. I spotted him the moment we walked in. Khalil had the kind of body most women only fantasize about touching. Over 6'4", broad shoulders that looked like they had been carved just to test my self-control. His skin caught the light like dark silk. Smooth, rich, dangerous. He wasn't bulky. He was just right. The kind of man who didn't need a gym to look good because God had already done the heavy lifting. Standing next to him always made me feel small, delicate even, and I loved that. I peeped him talking to some Kelly Rowland looking chick, her hand on his face, laughing too loud. I gave him a little side smile and kept it moving. I had to stay in character. If this plan worked, Jay couldn't suspect Khalil and I had history before we started. But Lord knows, watching that woman touch him made my blood boil hot enough to cook dinner on my skin. When we got to the suite, the host took our coats and led us into the private lounge. Velvet black curtains framed the view of the club below, gold railings glinting under low lights. I let my locks fall down my back and took a seat in one of the leather chairs, adjusting the lace on my teddy just right. The black fabric hugged me like a whisper. I wanted Khalil to choke on his composure when he saw me. Jay handed me a glass of Prosecco with a splash of mango juice, the way I liked it. "You feeling good?" he asked, with that proud look in his eyes. "I'm feeling great, baby. Thank you for my birthday gift," I said, smiling as I took a sip. "Whatever my baby wants, I make it happen," he said, kissing my lips and giving my backside a smack a little harder than usual. I flinched, but turned it into a laugh. "See anybody you like?" he asked, and right on cue, Khalil appeared. "Can I join you?" His voice hit the room low and steady, eyes locked on mine even as he spoke to Jay. My husband sized him up, trying not to show the shift in the air. "Whatever makes my wife happy," Jay said, using that fake calm men use when they feel threatened. I leaned back against the rail, the cool metal pressing into my back, tilting my head as a slow smile curved my lips. I lifted my finger and motioned for Khalil to come closer. He moved the way confidence moves, unhurried, deliberate, like the space already belonged to him. When his hands reached my waist, the noise around us disappeared. With one smooth motion, he lifted me and settled me onto the rail, my balance resting entirely in his grip. The height made my breath catch. The danger made my pulse race. My legs instinctively tightened around his hips as he stepped in close, his body anchoring mine. One arm braced behind me so I wouldn't fall. I breathed in the warm scent of his cologne, my body responding before my mind could catch up. He leaned in and murmured something low in my ear, something meant only for me. My knees forgot their job. My thoughts tangled. The crowd below blurred into light and sound. From the corner of my eye, I caught Jay watching, jaw clenched, eyes dark, chest rising too fast. And I didn't look away. I wanted him to see it. Wanted him to understand that right there, with my body balanced on the rail held steady by another man, control had already slipped through his fingers. And in that moment, suspended between height and heat, danger and desire, I realized just how close pleasure can sit to punishment. Jay watched our intimate performance through tight eyes. His fist balled so hard the veins in his forearms looked ready to burst. He didn't blink, didn't look away, just stared, jaw clenched, lips pressed thin like he was swallowing something poisonous. The tension in the room was thick enough to taste. Khalil kept me right where I was, balanced on the railing, my back resting against the cool metal, my body held in place by his strength alone. One arm braced behind me, the other firm at my waist, steady and intentional, like he wanted to make it clear to everyone watching that he had a firm grip, even while doing his thing. "You good up there?" Khalil murmured, voice low enough to sound private, loud enough to be heard. And I nodded, breath uneven. "I'm good." He smiled slowly, the kind of smile that wasn't friendly. It was deliberate. "I got you," he said, eyes never leaving mine. His hand slid just enough to remind me how much control he had, how easily he could move me, hold me, decide what happened next. My pulse thudded loud in my ears. From behind him, Jay shifted in his seat, and Khalil noticed. Of course he did. "You like the way I feel, don't you?" Khalil asked me, louder this time, clear enough for the whole room to hear. "Yes," I moaned, my voice unsteady as my body felt like it was buzzing. "Say it again," he said, tilting his head slightly, eyes flicking just once toward Jay before returning to me. I want him to hear it. "I love the way you feel," I repeated. He leaned in closer, his mouth near my ear now, his voice dropping back into something intimate. "Just remember to breathe, baby." Jay's fingers tightened around his glass. Khalil's thumb traced a slow, deliberate line along my side. Not enough to cross a line, but enough to have no doubt about intention. "You look good in this," he said calmly. "Real good." My breath caught, and the room felt smaller, hotter. Khalil shifted his stance just slightly, keeping me centered on the rail, his body blocking and framing me at the same time. He turned his head enough to address Jay without fully looking at him. "You all right over there?" he asked, polite, almost respectful. Jay lifted his glass, taking a slow sip to buy himself time. "I'm fine," he said evenly. Khalil nodded, like he accepted that answer, even though everyone knew it was a lie. Then he turned back to me and pressed his forehead briefly against mine. Not a kiss, something worse. Something intimate enough to feel like a violation without technically being one. "You ready to finish?" he asked quietly. I swallowed. "Yeah." That was when Jay stood. The chair scraped loudly against the floor, the sound sharp and sudden. For a split second, I thought this was it. That this was where everything shattered. But Jay stopped himself. He sat back down slowly, deliberately, picked up his drink with shaking hands, and took another sip, eyes never leaving us. Khalil smiled again, smaller this time, satisfied. When it was over, the air shifted. Khalil eased me down from the railing, adjusted his clothes like this was just another night, then turned to Jay and gave him a nod that landed somewhere between respect and challenge. And then he walked out, like nothing had happened. My husband leaned forward, set his drink on the table, and clapped, slow, deliberate, loud enough to echo across the room. The sound hit harder than any slap ever could. I pulled my lace back into place, finished my drink with hands that barely felt like mine, and waited for the explosion that didn't come. Jay stood, picked up my coat, and tossed it at me. "Let's go," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. Outside, the air was sharp and cold. Jay didn't yell, didn't slam the door. He didn't need to. His silence said more than words ever could. Once we got into the car, he opened my door, closed it firmly, and walked around to his side. But the moment the engine roared to life, I could feel the storm rising. He was speeding fast, taking corners like the laws of physics didn't apply. Red lights, curves, narrow streets. San Francisco slept while we tore through it like a secret nobody wanted to keep. Halfway home, his voice finally broke the silence. Did you know that nigga? He asked, smooth, unbothered. I turned toward him, keeping my face calm. Why would you ask me that? He smirked, still watching the road. You think you slick. He called you T, more than once. My body tensed. I don't know. Maybe you misheard him. I lied. His hands tightened on the wheel. You know I don't like to share, he said, gripping the wheel even tighter. There was a rage I kept for Jay's disrespect, cheating, and lying. And in that moment, it came to life. How dare he say something like that to me after all he had put me through? And before my mind could think about the repercussions, my mouth yelled out, neither do I, nigga. That was all it took. The car jerked to a stop in the middle of the freeway. My head snapped forward, lock swinging into my face. He turned toward me, eyes dark, the quiet kind of rage that doesn't shout. It haunts. He grabbed my chin, fingers rough and sharp. If I find out y'all been seeing each other outside of this situation, y'all both be dead. Know this. His breath was hot and his words cutting. You get me? He said, shaking my face. I closed my eyes, refusing to give him the satisfaction of fear. Do you get me? He barked louder now. The pressure on my jaw made my bones scream. Yes, I whispered defiant. Nah, I can't hear you. Yes, I shouted. And he pushed my head back so hard it hit the glass and everything went dark.
It don't mean that much to me. We ain't gotta worry about it. Just focus your energy. We'll build a whole world around it. It don't mean that much to me. We don't gotta fight about it. Just focus your energy, baby. We'll build our whole life around
I'm just honest, I ain't perfect, baby.
Honestly, I can
know
be
it's hard, but ain't I worth it, baby?
challenging when it seems that you don't give a wondering where you've been. I don't believe everything, trying not to forget.
This gon' work if we keep working on it. Ease your mind, you put a curtain on it. So if you love me, won't you say you love me? You so beautiful, this world get ugly.
We vibe, it's us alright. No strings, no ties, I'll trust no lies.
We don't need that type of energy, 'cause I am not your enemy. You closer than a friend of me. Ay, ay. I need you skin to skin with me, baby.
Shawty too cold, she a breeze in the freezer. No, I don't want your little baby, I need you. Remember when you told me other couldn't please you? Got a little mad, now you getting amnesia. You my lover and my friend too. It's whatever, baby, tell me what you into. We the people of the sun in the coldest of the weather. They ain't built for the type of we been through. And you filling me with love, got me happy that I'm breathing. Know that we forever, we ain't never been a season. I do not believe it when you saying that you leaving. We are not debating, baby, I don't see the reason.
Little ain't my baby, we been live, we been lit. So never let another come between us. We done been through the fire like a phoenix.
And I need you in my life like water, like air to me. Oiled up, tied down like hair to me. We ain't got a war, we ain't even got a fight. All I need tonight, you to tell me that you care for me. We ain't got a war, got a fight. All I really need tonight, just for you to tell me that you care for me.
I am loving I am full of love for myself and for others.